At my sister's wedding, I refused a $2 million gift. Dad's attack put me in the ER. I chose revenge. I always knew my family saw me as the extra child, the one who didn't fit their perfect picture, the one who was expected to be quiet, obedient, invisible. But even with all that, I never imagined my own father would send me to the emergency room, and that it would all begin with a $2 million gift. The moment I stepped into my sister Alicia's wedding venue, I felt it immediately. The looks, the whispers, the subtle smirks. It was her big day, and I genuinely wanted it to be perfect for her. But my presence clearly annoyed one person, my father. His jaw clenched the second he saw me, like my very existence was ruining the decorations. He walked toward me with forced politeness, his hand on my shoulder a little too firm. "Try not to embarrass us today, okay?" he said, smiling through his teeth so no one around would notice the venom in his voice. I swallowed the sting quietly, as I always did. "Sure, Dad." Alicia, glowing in her wedding dress, hugged me tightly. "I'm so happy you came," she whispered. But even in her voice, I sensed hesitation, like she wanted to shield me but knew she couldn't. All my life, I watched my parents shower her with everything. Private schools, expensive dresses, vacations, a luxury car for her 18th birthday. Meanwhile, I worked part-time jobs just to cover community college textbooks. They never hid the difference. They never even tried. But today, the imbalance was going to be displayed publicly, on a scale no one could ignore. Halfway through the event, Dad tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced proudly, "as a wedding gift for our beloved daughter, we are giving her," he paused dramatically, "a $2 million house in Florida." People gasped, clapped, and cheered. Cameras flashed. My sister covered her mouth in shock, tears forming in her eyes. Then Dad turned to me, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me forward like I was livestock being dragged to auction. "And for our son," he said with a laugh, "we have a small token too." Everyone looked at me. He pulled out a plastic envelope, the kind banks give you when you withdraw a small amount of cash. Inside were $200. A few people actually laughed. Someone muttered, "Is this a joke?" Another whispered, "That's humiliating." My face heated. My stomach twisted. My sister looked horrified. Dad smirked. "He doesn't need more. He's not exactly as successful." It felt like the air had left my lungs. I heard someone record the moment. Phones everywhere, capturing my humiliation for TikTok and WhatsApp groups. But I wasn't the same boy who grew up taking this abuse silently. I took the envelope, stared at it, then calmly placed it back on the table. "I don't want your money," I said quietly. The room went silent. Dad took a step closer. "What did you just say?" "I'm not taking this." I spoke louder this time, my voice steady, surprisingly strong. "I won't accept a gift that's meant to insult me." He laughed harshly. "You think refusing it makes you look brave? You're still nothing. At least your sister earned what she got." The guests stared at him, stunned by how openly cruel he was being. I breathed in deeply. Then I said the words that changed everything. "I don't need your money, Dad. Because I bought my own house last month. Paid in full." The shock on the guests' faces was instant. Even Alicia's eyes widened. Dad's smile twitched. "What house?" "A penthouse," I said softly. "In D.C." People gasped again, but this time at him, not at me. His face darkened. His voice turned low, dangerous. "You're lying." "I can show you the paperwork," I replied. "I worked for it. Alone." That was the first time in my life I saw fear in my father's eyes. Fear that his long-built narrative of me being worthless was cracking in front of everyone. He leaned in, furious. "Don't make a scene in your sister's wedding." "I'm not," I said. "But I won't let you humiliate me again." And that's when his anger snapped. He grabbed my arm tightly, so tight I winced, and hissed, "You think you're better than us? Better than your own family? After everything we gave you?" "Gave me?" I whispered. "You didn't even give me the chance to feel like your son." For a moment, he froze. Then he pushed me hard. I stumbled back, hitting the edge of a table. Plates crashed. Glass shattered. People screamed. My sister rushed forward, shouting, "Dad, stop!" But he wasn't listening. He lunged again, gripping my collar. You will not disrespect me, he roared. My vision blurred. I felt pain shoot through my ribs. Guests tried to intervene. Someone yelled to call security. Someone else reached for their phone to record. That was the moment everything went white. Flashes, noise, chaos, and I lost my balance completely. I hit the floor. Hard. The next thing I remember was paramedics lifting me onto a stretcher while my father yelled at them to stop overreacting. But the bruises, the swelling, the dizziness, they weren't overreacting. They took me to the ER. My sister cried beside me. My mother stood far away, arms crossed, as if I had ruined the wedding. And lying on that hospital bed, with pain creeping through every bone, with humiliation burning deeper than the injuries, I made a quiet decision. A decision that would change everything. I was done being the weak one. I was done being their target. And I was done letting them walk away from what they did. They chose violence. Now I would choose revenge. And I hadn't even begun. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and quiet disappointment. I lay there with bruised ribs, a swollen arm, and a doctor telling me I needed to stay for observation. But all I could think about was the look on my father's face, how quickly humiliation had turned him into a monster. Alicia sat at the edge of my bed, wiping her tears. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I didn't know he would do that. It's not your fault, I said. My voice was weak, but my anger was alive, hot, steady. He's been like this my whole life. She nodded slowly, guilt tightening her face. He shouldn't have treated you like that. Not today. Not ever. Mom walked in then, not to check on me, not to ask if I was okay, but to begin damage control. She didn't even meet my eyes. You made a scene, she said sharply. Your sister's wedding is ruined. Guests are talking. Videos are everywhere. I actually laughed. My ribs are fractured, I said, and you're worried about gossip? You provoked him, she snapped. You embarrassed him in front of everyone. Alicia stood up. Mom, he didn't provoke anyone. Dad attacked him. Mom ignored her completely. Delete whatever you told people about the penthouse. You know how insecure your father gets about you looking successful. That sentence hit me like ice. They didn't care about my injuries. They didn't care about the violence. They cared about their narrative, the story where I was the failure, the disappointment, the one who never measured up. I turned my head away from her. Please leave. Mom scoffed, muttering, ungrateful, before walking out. Alicia squeezed my hand. I'll get the car. I'm taking you home with me. But I stopped her. No, I'm not going back to that house. Not even for one night. She hesitated. Then where? My penthouse, I said. She blinked, surprised. You really bought one? Yes. And I'm done hiding it. When I was finally discharged, I stepped into the cool DC evening air and felt something I hadn't felt in years, clarity. A sharp, burning clarity. I spent the next 2 days recovering in my penthouse. Alicia stayed with me whenever she could, helping me eat, helping me stand, apologizing over and over for a crime that wasn't hers. Meanwhile, the internet was exploding. Someone had posted a video of the moment Dad announced the $2 million house for Alicia and the humiliating $200 gift for me. Another clip showed him pushing me, screaming, lunging. It spread fast. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook groups, even YouTube reaction channels. People were furious. Who treats their own child like this? That father needs therapy or jail. The son should cut them off forever. This man deserves so much better. For the first time ever, the world agreed with me. I didn't post anything at first. I didn't defend myself. I didn't explain. I watched. I listened. And then I planned. On the third day, Dad called me. Not to apologize. Not to ask how I was doing. But to rage. You think you're smart? He shouted the moment I picked up. You think letting those stupid videos spread will hurt me? Delete them. Tell people they misunderstood. Fix it. I stared out the glass window of my penthouse overlooking the city. I didn't post anything, I said calmly. Don't play games with me. You will do as I say. No, I replied, my voice steady. I won't. There was a silence. Sharp, heavy. You're dead to this family if you walk away, he finally said. I exhaled slowly. then bury me. I hung up. That night, I opened my laptop and wrote a single post, one that would ignite everything. I didn't attack him. I didn't insult him. I didn't scream. I told the truth. I wrote about growing up as the invisible child, the neglected one. About working 2 jobs while they paid for my sister's luxuries. About being shamed publicly again and again. And yes, I wrote about the wedding, the $200 envelope, the push, the ER. I ended it with, I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm choosing freedom. I'm choosing peace. And I'm choosing myself. I posted it. Within minutes, it exploded. Hundreds of comments. Then thousands. Then thousands more. People shared it everywhere. Some reached out with support. Some with their own family trauma. Some with offers to help legally if I wanted to file charges. My father finally saw something he couldn't control. The truth. The next morning, Alicia called me in tears. Dad's losing it, she said. He's calling everyone, yelling, saying you're destroying the family. No, I whispered. He did that himself. And yet, despite everything, I still wasn't done. Because revenge wasn't just about exposing him. It was about reclaiming everything he tried to take from me, including my future. And my final step was going to be the one he never expected. The morning after my post went viral, I woke up to 100 missed calls, dozens of messages, and a knock on the penthouse door. I expected my sister. I expected maybe a journalist. But when I opened the door, it was my mother. She looked nothing like the cold woman who stood at my hospital bed. Her hair was messy, her eyes red, her voice trembling. Please, I need to talk to you, she said. Against my instincts, I let her in. She stood in the center of my living room, staring at the marble floors, the high ceilings, the city skyline. You really bought this, she whispered. On your own. Yes, I replied. Because no one in that house ever believed I could. Her hands shook. Your father, he's more scared than angry. I laughed dryly. Scared of being exposed? No, she said quietly. Scared of what else might come out. I frowned. What else? She sank onto the couch, burying her face into her hands. Your father thinks you know something. Something you were never supposed to know. A slow chill crawled up my spine. Know what? She didn't lift her head. He's terrified because you're not biologically his son. I froze. My ears rang. The room tilted. What? I whispered. She finally looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. He found out when you were 3. He wasn't your real father. I had an affair before I married him. He never forgave me, and he never forgave you. I felt like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. So he hated me, because of something I didn't even do? He didn't want you, she said shakily. He only agreed to raise you because he didn't want our family reputation destroyed. But every time he looked at you, he saw my mistake. The world suddenly made sense in the darkest way possible. The neglect. The unfair treatment. The anger. The humiliation. The violence. It wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. It was intentional. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice breaking. Why didn't you protect me? She sobbed harder. Because I was a coward. Because I was afraid of him. And because he told me if I ever said a word, he would ruin all 3 of us. I turned away from her. I didn't want her to see the way my face twisted, not from pain, but from something deeper. A dark clarity. So what now? I asked. She swallowed. He wants you to delete the post. He wants all of this to go away. He's terrified a DNA test will expose the truth. Ah, there it was. The real fear. Not losing me. Not hurting me. Losing his reputation. His name. His pride. I walked to the window, staring down at the city below. Mom, I said quietly, did he ever care about me? Even once. Silence. A long, painful silence. No, she finally whispered. I closed my eyes. That was all I needed to hear. I turned around slowly. Tell Dad. I'll make him an offer. She wiped her eyes. What offer? Simple, I said. He leaves me alone forever, and I won't order a DNA test. Her face went pale. He'll never agree. He will, I said. Because the only thing he cares about more than controlling me is protecting the lie he's lived with for 30 years. I picked up my phone and typed a short message to my father. Stay away from me. From now on, I am not your son. If you contact me again, I will order a DNA test, and the truth will destroy you. I sent it. Mom's breath caught. You're serious? For the first time, I said, I finally am. Within minutes, my father replied. Fine. Stay out of my life. No apology. No regret. Just fear disguised as pride. Mom left shortly after, broken and speechless. I watched her go, realizing for the first time that I didn't lose a family. I escaped one. Later that night, Alicia called. Dad's locked himself in his office. Mom's crying. It's chaos. I'm done, I said softly. And you should leave when you can. She hesitated, then whispered, I will. I hung up and stood alone in my penthouse, bruised, exhausted, but strangely not victorious, not happy, but free. I didn't expose the DNA secret publicly. I didn't drag anyone further. My silence was stronger than any revenge, because my father would now live every day with one fear, that the truth, his biggest shame, rested in the hands of the son he never wanted, and I would live every day knowing I didn't lose a father. I was never his to begin with. And for the first time in my life, I finally belonged to myself.